So I am Helen Pritchard, probably most famous for helping business owners get leads from LinkedIn. However, I'm a multi-business owner now, and I help business owners in a million different ways, really, start their businesses, grow their businesses, and scale their businesses. So I've kind of transitioned because of what I've done over the last 3 years. Is I've grown, £1 million in sales business myself, selling LinkedIn training. And I guess what I've done now is bundle all that together, and everything that I've done, I now teach to people across my five main pillars of things that I've done, which I now teach. So yeah, I think it's a bit of an interesting one coming on here, because I think we've done one before, haven't we?
Yeah, we did one for something that I used to work on, Quiz Your Biz. That was about, it must be about 1.5 years ago, I think, if not a little bit more now.
Then I was still very much, I show people I was very focused on just being the LinkedIn person and helping people LinkedIn, showing them how to get leads without sending any horrible spammy messages or worry about all the things that most people worry about. And now, I sit here, I'm massively evolved. I've been on a huge journey, as they say, on the X Factor. This is my house, by the way. This is my rented accommodation as I'm waiting for my house to be renovated. So if you're wondering, this isn't my dirty radiator, basically. But I am working from home at the moment. Still got the kids at home. But I think things have changed quite a bit since we last spoke. Definitely. I've definitely evolved and matured. I think 18 months ago, I was really deep into the whole, just online arguing all the time with everybody. I think it was me, personally, I was trying to defend my work. But with certain things that happened, it got absolutely insane. People were sending me just the most outrageous messages and just having these outrageous campaigns about me online that I just, and now when I look back at that time, I just think it's silly, absolutely silly. That I entertained it, not that it happened. It's happened to people all the time, but, I just feel embarrassed. I let myself get dragged into it because it's just pathetic, really. But yeah, things are good. Business is good. Things have happened. So gone from just having the LinkedIn mastermind into having the business mega mix and the access all areas, backstage pass, which is just about to launch, and of course Helen wine. So bought my own wine out here as well. So plenty for us to talk about, definitely.
Yeah, there's a lot to go from now. But one thing I want to go back is, also I remember first following you probably about 2-3 years ago now, and I've got slight memories of when you launched the first mastermind, just sort of where you are now. And I messaged you the other day to obviously say that, I don't know if you get it a lot, but obviously well done on your journey, because I've seen obviously right from that first mastermind to what it is now, and I know it is absolutely massive. And that journey you've gone through, because I can remember a lot, probably about when you did the podcast 18 months ago, there was a lot of sort of you had to defend yourself, didn't you, about the way you do LinkedIn. And I know that most people in marketing have to go through something similar. I get it all the time where other people in marketing don't agree with the way you do it, so they instantly think wrong. Whereas in my book, there isn't a right or wrong way when it comes to marketing. There is wrong ways as such, but there isn't a one way fits all sort of thing. Because obviously the way you do LinkedIn, and the way you do LinkedIn is a good way, and it's the way that I go for. Obviously the whole not sending messages to people, because it does just come across as spammy. But there's a lot of people who do that route, and I have to defend myself now, which it is hard to get into, and you do get into it a lot, don't you, where people are no, you're wrong, that's an absolute rubbish way, you're wrong, but you're able to prove that you're right, because one, it's worked for you, and it's worked for the thousands of people that you have actually helped as well.
That's exactly where I'm at now. I don't need to defend my work now, because my confidence comes from evidence, and I came onto the online scene with that confidence because it had been working for me for so long. So when I came onto the scene, and I was like, oh, here I am, I'm going to teach everyone about how to use LinkedIn this different way, and people were just outraged, and I think there was just this kind of thing of who do you think you are, just turning up telling people that the way we've been teaching how marketing in general is wrong. And I was kind of but it works. And I always said, you don't have to like me to leverage me, just listen to me, and it's going to work for you as well. And I've had people from that time come back to me now, and I massively respect them, because they say to me, look, I was a bit of a dick to you. I just thought, who's this woman? Where's she come from? And it triggered me, and it made me feel uncomfortable. And I've just watched you over the last 18 months, 2 years, and now I think you were right, and I think you're great, and I've seen you come through it, and and all that kind of stuff. So in a way, it's been a brilliant thing. And it's always hard for me to decide, when people are bullying me online, which is basically what's happening, do I block these people or do I let them watch me be successful? Because success is the best revenge. And, for everyone who's like, if you do these things, then, you're not going to be successful, and, you're just going to, you're like a, flash in the pan sort of thing. And we're not going to support you anymore, so therefore you're going to really struggle. And it's kind of like, well, you know what, my work speaks for itself. So it's been quite fun in a lot of ways. And now I just feel, completely vindicated in terms of the work, because I know the work works, and much less emotionally attached to convincing other people to believe me. Like, if they don't believe that, fine. There are a million ways to do a million things. All I teach is the stuff that I know that works, and that's with everything that I teach in business. I'm not saying other ways don't work. So now I get I see quite a lot of kickback around the stuff that I say, which is things like, the more you post, the more money you make. You've got to be consistently, disgustingly, resilient, and just keep showing up whether you feel like it or not. You need to keep putting yourself out there and doing things other people aren't prepared to do to get results other people don't get. I say all that stuff because that's what I've done. And people say, they don't always name me, but they say, if someone's telling you to post all the time and just post endlessly without that quality quantity thing, and it's bad for your mental health, and it's kind of, I get it. People don't want to hear that either. They don't want to hear that they've got to do the hard yards, and they've got to show up, and they've got to be consistent, and they've got to do it when they don't feel like it. So I can understand why it's really attractive to hear the opposite. But the truth is, like, there's no way I'd have got where I am, which is profitable, successful business owner, work when I want, do what I want, to say no to more things, say yes to, which is what I want to aim for, if I hadn't done all those things. So I say to people, you don't have to agree with me, you don't have to believe me, but if you really want to make some money, like, can trust me and follow the process, and I will do anything for anyone who wants to learn and wants to grow their business and wants to be successful, as long as they're willing to do the work and take the advice and trust the process. So not for everyone, absolutely not for everyone, and that's okay. And my way doesn't work for everybody, and it won't work for everybody, and some people haven't got what it takes, and that's fine. But I can't help people who want an easy route, because to me there isn't one.
There isn't one. No, that's the big thing, and I suppose it's something that I believe a lot in, and that's not everybody's your ideal customer. Just because somebody comes to you, I get it a lot as well with it. Somebody will come to me and go, "Oh, how much do you charge for social media management?" So I'll say, and it's, "Oh, well, I can go and get it from such and such for £200." And my first thing is, I go get that for £200, because it won't be, the quality won't be the exact same. But not everybody's your ideal client, and I know it's hard to not do, and that's don't say yes to everybody when it comes to clients, because there's a lot that we'll end up spending sort of like double the amount of hours on trying to convince them otherwise, when sometimes it's like you said a minute ago, it's better just to let them go, come back to you 6 months later, 12 months later, and go, actually, do you know what, you are right, sorry about that, can I work with you now? I think, again, it comes with confidence and experience, but like, one of the things that I try and instill in people that follow me is, like, you put your boundaries in place early on. So if someone tries to negotiate with me, I won't work with them. That's as simple as that, because they're just not the right mindset for me. What's your best price? I'm like, that is my best price. I talk about, but then I don't want to work with them anyway, so it's gross, isn't it? And, I talk about putting your price out there publicly, as what other people don't teach. And it's kind of like, well, I know for a fact that people want to know how much it costs before they get onto a call or, want to speak to you about it. So there's things that I talk about which seem controversial, but actually just common sense, and absolutely say no to people. Having your boundaries is super, super, super important. There was a huge furore on LinkedIn, and somebody tagged me in, and somebody had written, who had a job, so it wasn't in the entrepreneurial space anyway, it's like, oh my god, I've just seen someone charging £197 for an hour's consultation on LinkedIn. Absolutely ridiculous. And there was 424 comments, and it was so funny. I was scrolling through and I was just looking at this poor money mindset of all these people, of like, that's outrageous, brain surgeons get paid £8 an hour, there's nurses on the front line, like, it's absolute robbery, no one needs to be taught how to do LinkedIn, all this kind of stuff, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, and the old days I would have been like straight in there, but I just thought, I just posted and said, well, I charge £500 an hour, because I know that
it's not about LinkedIn. It's about getting rid of that feeling of anxiety people wake up with every day and go to bed with every day because they don't know where the next bit of money's coming from. So like people will pay that money to get rid of that anxiety and have real confidence in themselves and their business again. Every person whose life I helped to change because they suddenly got money coming in, that has a ripple effect with their families and on their lifestyle, the people they buy from, you know, the way they feel about themselves, their mental health, you know, their families and all that kind of stuff. So it's almost like if other people don't believe in you or don't believe in your industry or don't believe in your pricing, it's like literally none of your business. You got to just focus on the people that love you, and I mean love you, and absolutely cling on to all of your positive feedback. So I now say in the challenge, so we do the 5-day challenges, and you know, we average between 2,000 and 3,000 people in each one. We do 8 a year, and I always say, like, I don't want to hear your negative feedback. Like, I'm not here for that. Like, I've spent tens of thousands of pounds putting these challenges on, and we've got, you know, 15 people working behind the scenes to make them happen. And this is how we do them. And if you don't like it, that's fine. Just leave. We don't want to hear about it. We don't need your feedback. If you love it, let us know, because we live for that stuff. Like, you know, because we're all working hard and we're all wanting to deliver a great service. And we want to hear the good feedback, not the negative feedback. So, and then hold on to that. So we talk a lot about social proof in my world. And every time someone says something nice about you, every time someone posts something nice about you or sends you a nice message, screenshot that shit is what I say. Screenshot it, use it in your social media, but also keep it for your own mental well-being, so that when, you know, when it does get tough, when people are rude basically, you know, and mean to you online because they don't understand your world or they don't understand the value that you're bringing, you ignore that and you focus on those people who love you, because there's tons of them out there.
Yeah, definitely. The whole screenshot message is a big thing as well, because we work with clients where they're like, I've got no reviews on Facebook and nobody leaves a review. So I always say, go through your Facebook messages and see, because I bet there's a ton of messages there where it's even like a sentence of, you've done a great job. That one little sentence there makes a world of difference to anybody. So yeah, definitely screenshot them. Social proof is one of the biggest things out there.
And you get to a point where you've got sheer volume of them. So sometimes I'll do a post and I'll just put like 60 screenshots attached to it. And I know people aren't reading them, but it's not the point. The point is I've got thousands of positive testimonials, thousands of them. So for every hater and every like negative thing, it's like, well, it's all balance, isn't it? So I definitely choose to focus on the positive. Also, they're a great sales technique. So people want to, you know, it's all right you saying how good you are, but they want someone else to tell them how good they are.
So obviously you personally have got past the point of getting past negative comments and not letting them affect you. If somebody, because obviously there'll be people listening now who can't get past some negative comments. I've only just got past them myself. What's the piece of advice you'd give to people to be able to get past them negative comments that they're receiving from, it might be random people on the internet, right, to sort of like family and friends? What sort of advice would you give to somebody like that?
Well, what I say to people is that if you've got someone in your life who don't believe in you, whether it's a partner, a parent, a colleague, ex-colleague, could be someone in your own head, could be an ex-partner, it could be some stranger on the internet, and that's kind of how low they should be down in the thing. It doesn't matter if you've got me. Like, I believe in you, and I believe you can do this, and I believe that you're going to have great impacts into the world and bring great value and make great money. Like, sometimes people just need someone to believe in them, and that's kind of what I try to do with my communities. And honestly, it gets tough times, because a lot of people say this to me, you know, I feel really nervous about putting myself out there because of, you know, what people might do, say and think. And honestly, if people aren't paying your bills or they're not in your bed, their opinion really shouldn't matter. It really shouldn't. And the best way to get over negative comments is fill your life with positive ones. The best way to get positive ones is to put yourself out there and be the best you. I think the criminal thing about online bullying and online trolls is that, I mean, and I'll hold my hands up, I have been in some really nasty, vicious arguments, but I will say I've never started one, if that makes sense. It's always been people coming to me, and I've defended myself to the death because I felt really angry, not so much for me, although I did and I do, but it's for my work, but for my people who follow me and who implement my work, who have to deal with this day in, day out. And what I say to people, you know, if anyone's ever put a negative comment on someone's post about something, like, just think about, like, if you could be that straw that breaks that camel's back, like, forget their mental health, like, that's another like conversation entirely. But if one of my students put stuff out there and they've gone through so much to put themselves out there, and your comment could be the one that makes them stop, and they stop putting themselves out there, they don't make any money, they can't feed their kids, they slip into a depression, their partner decides to leave them. Like, these are the fucking consequences, and people don't seem to understand that tearing down other people's businesses online is really damaging, like really damages people's lives. And if you're trying to tear someone else down to try and make yourself look good, i.e. people who say to me, oh no, you don't want to do LinkedIn like that, you want to do like this.
Yeah.
And I get it all the time, people like comment on my stuff because I was getting so much traction, you know, I was attracting a lot of attention. You know, just think about how that's affecting people in their real lives. Like, I decided to stop getting like so upset about it. I used to get very, very upset about it. I mean, I have a holiday ruined by this stuff. I remember I was away when something blew up massive, which you probably remember. I just got to this point where I just thought, I was sat on my bed crying on a Sunday because somebody had said like, oh, I think the challenge is shit and I think Helen's shit, whatever. And I just sat on bed crying. And it was a Sunday and I thought, you know what? I should be with my kids now. You know, I should be with my friends. And I say this to Mike. So Mike Winnett, as a lot of you and your audience will know him on LinkedIn, really, really good personal friend of mine. And he put a comment on one of my students' stuff. And, you know, I WhatsApped him and I was like, you know what? I said, you're the topic of conversation again in my group. And he was like, how can this be my fault? You know, the post was this and that. And I was like, the point is that I've got a woman who's got kids who's crying at home on a Saturday afternoon. Like, because you and your mates online, you know, think you're funny.
Yeah,
it's not that funny, is it? Do you know what I mean? And I mean, we had a laugh about it in the end because, you know, it's not his personal. But because the thing is, when Mike comments, because he's got like 1 million followers, he just brings all the people with him. You know.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you know, and then I think, have I upset people like that? Have I made people feel like that by them trying to disagree with me, and then I've attacked them, and it's all gone, you know, and I can be pretty brutal, and I, you know. Hopefully they'll forgive me because I've been pushed into a mental state where I wasn't behaving like I'd like to online. You know, I wasn't at all, and I really have evolved and matured out of that now, and I'm pleased about that. But I see other people getting dragged into it. You know, the drama, isn't it?
It's drama, isn't it? And like, I know we both were part of the same Facebook group that caused a hell of a lot of drama, and that's why I've come a lot away from a lot of them, because they're very draining, and it's sort of like you end up spending hours of your life in these Facebook groups.
Because you can't help it.
Yeah, you get dragged.
It's addictive, and like I always say, it's like Davina used to whisper in their ears at Big Brother on the come out, like it's just panto, and I think it is panto, and the arguments are not for the two people involved, it's for the audience watching. And sometimes you can't tear your eyes away, especially when you get to know these people and there's all these like old things coming up and resentments, and you know, and then it gets really tribal and all the kind of, you know. But then you realise none of these people are making any fucking money. Because they're spending all the time in this culture, this toxic culture, and it's not entertainment for them. They're so dragged into it and they're so drawn into it. So it's kind of like, to me, I just look back on that time and think, what a waste of time. Think of how much more money I could have made if I'd have just focused on doing something else. Well, there's people focused on doing something else instead of what they're doing. But I still see people from those days, and they've not moved on in their businesses at all because they're stuck in a toxic sort of situation.
Yeah, there's a lot are, and I think sometimes as well, when it comes to negative comments, I've got the same mindset that Gary Vee has, and that's that somebody leaving a negative comment, a harsh comment, their life must be really bad at that point in time to even go through the effort of doing it. And you've got to, I think to myself, okay, I'm in a better position than them already. And carry my forward of that. It's about using, isn't it? Because I've got, the best example I've got is that, obviously I can't name too much, but when I left a company before, one of the directors wasn't happy about it, and I had a phone call at 10:30 at night, and he was shouting down the phone at me, calling me every name that you could think of. And what a couple of comments stood out to me, and one comment was that I was in bed at this time, so we were both nearly asleep. And he was like, oh, if you're such a good entrepreneur and business owner, you would still be working at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I'm still working. I'll be working until 2 o'clock in the morning, and was doing this. And I just sort of like sat back, and for the first time in my life, I sort of like laughed, because I was like, I don't need to be working until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And he helped me realize that. And there's other things that he said, but yeah, it's about using some of the negative comments that you get for fuel to help carry you forward a little bit and help you realize that some things actually, do you know what, my life is probably better than theirs at the moment. I'm actually earning money at the moment. I'm doing this and that. But yeah, because I know going back to sort of that interview we did like 18 months ago, a lot's changed in that 18 months.
Yeah.
But obviously a lot of the people listening who are part of my audience probably don't know much about you. So what started the love with LinkedIn as such? Where did that sort of come from? What happened to get to that point?
Well, for me, it was just, I was absolutely desperate. So, excuse my teenage daughter getting in the taxi in the background. For me, I was desperate. I needed to get some money in quick. I was a single mum. I had, mental health problems myself. I was, really struggling. Like, I just couldn't see a way of, I couldn't go to things like networking. I couldn't afford it, couldn't face it. And I was kind of looking for a solution, really. So I knew I wanted to get 10 clients, pay me £250 a month. I used to be in social media like you. And I just set up LinkedIn. I found LinkedIn and I thought, this makes sense because there's loads of potential customers in there. I don't have to go and see anyone. I didn't have to go and stand up and do presentations and things like that I couldn't face doing. And it was free. I could do it from home when I had the kids. So it was kind of like, let's just give it a go. And the way I then went on to set up my kind of profile was the way that I still teach it now. Really, It really was kind of, this is what makes sense to me. That's it. I've never had LinkedIn training. I've never been on anyone else's courses. I've never looked at anyone else's stuff. So I was like, this makes sense to me. So when I set up like the headline and the profile to speak to my ideal customer, my ideal client, and then I went and added and asked to connect with them, and then I put out content for them and engage with them publicly, I didn't even think for a minute that would end up making me millions of pounds. I just thought, this is going to get me some clients. And it just made sense to set up LinkedIn like a landing page and then drive traffic to it through, asking to connect with the right people and putting out content and then engaging with people. And, I never sent direct messages because I didn't want to. I didn't have time to. It made me feel weird. And I knew I wouldn't like it. So I just used this method, which I've now called lighthouse marketing, which is about, I knew who I was and what I was about. I knew who my ideal client was. I knew what I wanted to charge. I knew what I was going to offer. And then I put my content out like a light. And then I created this ecosystem around me, just full of my ideal clients, because LinkedIn's the only place where you can handpick them. And I just got all my leads from LinkedIn. So I was kind of, to me, I thought everyone used LinkedIn like that. It was only kind of a few years in when I was landing all these massive clients. Once we'd evolved into like an agency and had staff and stuff like that, and we're getting these big clients. People say to me, "How did you get those clients?" I said, "Oh, they came to me." I was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Oh, they came to me on LinkedIn." They're like, no one gets leads from LinkedIn. LinkedIn's just for CVs, and LinkedIn's crap, and LinkedIn's full of spammers. I was like, "Oh, I love LinkedIn. That's where I get all my leads from." And people would just be like, no. So I just show them. I'd literally there'd be a piece of paper on the table. I'd draw it out how I teach it now, even now, never really changed. And then they'd go away and they'd do it, and they'd come back and say, "Oh my God, got a lead." And I'm like, I know. It works for everyone. So I love LinkedIn now because it's still the boring, weird uncle at the wedding that no one wants to engage with. Yeah. So it's good for us because when we teach it, it's so non-competitive because people just dismissed it. It's not for me because I sell a product, or I'm a local business, or I'm B2C, or I'm not corporate, or I'm not professional enough, or I'm not comfortable. So people dismiss LinkedIn for so many reasons that are false. So that when I can teach people to go on it, so for example, someone says, "Oh, but I'm a dog groomer, it's never going to work for me." I'm like, yeah, but imagine how many dog groomers are using LinkedIn to get leads, clients, and they'd be like, none, exactly. Yeah, how many dog groomers are going around all the the Facebook buy and sell sites and local Facebook groups and, putting the cards up and doing leaflets, because that's what everyone does. So why don't you do something different, and then you'll get different results. And, I believe that I could work with any business of any type, any size, and get them leads from LinkedIn for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. LinkedIn's one that when I first started my sort of being freelance and self-employed, so even 3-4 years ago, LinkedIn was one that I never used. I had the same thoughts. It was like a CV and it was boring and it was all this. And obviously I was all about Facebook, Instagram and Twitter at the time. And then, I can remember the first time I started following you, I was like, actually, LinkedIn might be good. And I'm one that when it comes to anything I learn, I look at the two sides of everything. And I can remember following you, and there was another guy who taught the complete opposite of you. You might even know who he is. And there's obviously the two opposites, and I can remember trying both. And like learning about it. And the one was obviously the direct messaging route. It was the boring profile. It was the headline, which was literally, I currently work here, or owner at the summary, which was just one big sales pitch. And I can remember he was like, don't post too often. And I was already, that sort of for me was like, okay, why? When I'm a big fan of posting multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Did that, didn't work. Then I can remember then trying your way of doing it, not messaging people, connecting with the right people, engaging, connecting them in the right way. And then suddenly it took off. And I'm not just saying that because obviously you're a guest now, but that is the truth. And that's where my like love of LinkedIn started from. Because
it's like a cash machine. It's like, it gets you such good quality clients as well. Like Facebook, I see, because I love Facebook, don't get me wrong. I get most of my money through Facebook now because we run these big challenges. We spend tens of thousands of pounds on Facebook ads and that. So don't get me wrong, it's great, Facebook. But when you're starting out particularly, and when you're finding your feet and you're looking for one-to-one clients particularly, or clients for an agency, like when you go on Facebook and you see someone, does anyone know anyone does social media? And you just, you don't want to be fighting out in that thread, do you, really? Because it's a race to the bottom, whereas LinkedIn is about getting people to approach you when they're ready and they want what you're selling. And you never get a price issue on LinkedIn because they're coming to you and they're asking you because they've got a problem that you can solve. And if you follow my stuff, you've already put your prices out there multiple times. So they already know how much you're going to charge, at least prices from. And it just saves so much time on both sides. So, for me, it's an absolute no-brainer. No.
Yeah, that's the case, and I see it a lot with, like you said, with Facebook groups where people are like, oh, do you know somebody who can do this or that, and you get like 50 comments, and it's just a case of like it's not worth fighting over, because if you then having to message people, go, oh, by the way, did you see my comment? Here's my link and this and that. You're on a losing game. Whereas things like LinkedIn are such easy wins as such. But obviously, if somebody was starting off, because I know probably a lot of my audience who are a little bit younger, because I know that people my age, sort of like 20, 25, struggle with LinkedIn because they see it as this big business place, these all adults, as they call it, and everything else. Grown-ups, yeah, exactly. What would your advice be to somebody who, if I think an example, sort of like a 20-year-old who wants to sort of start setting up on their own, maybe freelance, say, what would your advice be to them when it comes to LinkedIn? What would you recommend they do?
It's absolutely, the advice is absolutely the same. And actually what I've seen on LinkedIn, and again, LinkedIn it's a benign platform. It is what you make it, and your audience is what you choose and all that kind of stuff. So everyone's experience is a bit differently. But I actually see a lot of goodwill towards younger people on LinkedIn. I think I've got a program called LinkedIn for Students, which is like we're rolling out to universities and stuff next year. Because I think people should, well, depending on what goes on, but I think people should get on LinkedIn when they start uni, not when they finish. When they want to get a job. And same as as soon as you start a business, you've got to get yourself on LinkedIn, because there's just so many professional and there's wealthy people on LinkedIn. There's influential people. There's well-connected people. There's people who can help you. And if you're looking for things like mentors and you put yourself out there and you're really passionate about what you do, and the thing is about younger people, you're so fluent in this stuff. So doing video on LinkedIn, which a lot of people in the 40s and 50s who are probably the bulk of my audience are like, I'm terrified, I don't want to go on camera. I would say as a rule, young people are happy to go, doing lives, doing LinkedIn video, putting out, just getting into the groove of doing this. I mean, there's things that I talk about telling stories, doing video, social proof, and putting out call to action posts. Like, I would expect a young dynamic kind of newbie to love that stuff and really leverage it as a social media that it is. But then it gets the added benefit of really drilling down, picking a niche. That's the most important thing. Picking a niche and identifying your ideal client on LinkedIn, and then building that audience off them. And it would work absolutely fine. There's definitely, the thing is, there's dickheads on every platform. You're going to get them no matter where you go and what you do. And LinkedIn is no different, so you just got to go for the positives, and they're massively outweigh the negatives. Yeah,
definitely. So obviously with you being on LinkedIn, and that's the biggest thing, obviously you said you love Facebook as well. Are you happy, and do you like every platform that there is out there at the moment, or is there ones that you don't really like?
Obviously, like, LinkedIn's great. I don't hang out on LinkedIn like I used to. Facebook's my go-to, probably because of my age, just because I think, like, same with LinkedIn, you might hate bits of Facebook, but we still go on it every day, don't we? We still go through it and, you know, and all that kind of jazz. So Facebook's my home, if you like. And that's what I say to people, you know, follow me on Facebook, because I can't have any more connections, but follow me because everything I put on Facebook is like the hub of everything that I do. It's business and personal, and everything goes on like for everybody. Instagram stories I've really got into. I think they're pretty cool, and I'd be interested to do LinkedIn stories. Probably be a bit embarrassing, like they always do everything a bit rubbish. So yeah, I like stories. I like the concept of stories, especially for someone like me who's got a big team. It's like 33 of us now. A big team, big marketing team, big ops team, you know, project management team, finance team, all that kind of stuff. So all that's going on. You have to disconnect a little bit from the day to day. You know, I've got 4 VAs that deal with all my inquiries and all the help desk and all the, you know, so I do feel disconnected, where stories I do feel lets me bring a bit of me back into it.
Yeah.
You know, some of it is done by Gemma, who works for us, and that's like, you can tell the difference because it's all dead nice and professional. And some of it's me with tea, or me going for a walk, or me with the kids. So I think for me, yeah, that, and then the odd post I do on Facebook, which is clearly me as well.
Yeah, fine. So obviously with you having a big team, and obviously I'm doing a lot of these podcasts, I don't like talking about COVID and coronavirus too much, because obviously it gets a bit samey and gets a bit boring. But when it comes to working from home, is that something that you had to suddenly get used to, working from home, and your team working from home, or was that something that you already had in place?
No, I mean, everyone works from home anyway, although I've got an office. Phil's got an office. I would normally be in the office, only like temporary circumstances this week. Yeah, my office is dead cool, isn't it? It's got a pool table and sofa and a bar and Netflix and Alexa, so I love it. It's like my place to hang out. But yeah, it doesn't. I mean, that's the beauty of our businesses, right? We can work from anywhere. And Alexa's.
You should set Alexa off.
Alexa on, yeah. So I like, it's not been a massive shift at all, and all the people that work for me, a lot of them are mums and got kids and stuff. So I think it's not been the working from home; it's been the having schools closed has been the challenging bit. That's all I think.
Yeah, luckily enough, obviously I've not got children yet, so I didn't have to deal with that. Yeah, the work from home was a natural thing that I did wait for anyway. I've always wanted to do, and I prefer doing. Adds that bit of freedom to everything that we do. But yeah, so sort of end it. I suppose you've given a lot of advice and a lot of tips. But obviously for everybody listening, if you could give one bit of like motivation for everything going on at the moment, of advice, what would it be to everybody?
I think it's the showing up in it. It's what I'm most famous for. Like, you've got to show up consistently in your business, for your business. And one of the things that I say now, which I've kind of coined as my own catchphrase, is, you know, if you're on a mission, like if you want to do good things in the world and you want to, you know, help a lot of people and have an impact, like the mission is more important than your mindset in the moment. And that's really helped me, because, you know, when I've not wanted to show up, or things have been going on for me personally and things are hard, and you've got all the, you know, global pandemics and all that kind of stuff, like there's loads of times you don't want to show up in your business, and that's okay. But you show up anyway. You show up anyway because the mission's more important than how you feel about it in that moment. Because moments, like your emotions and the way you feel about situations change, and they're really fluid. Whereas the mission should be like your guiding light of, like, you know, you have to do things that other people don't do to get, or things that other people don't get. You know, if you want great things, and, you know, there's nothing lucky about the situation I find myself in. You know, it's all been a strategic move. I mean, I suppose there's been a bit of luck in there, and, you know, I'm super spiritual, and I believe that like a lot of it's supported from that side. But, you know, fundamentally, there's nobody's coming to save you. You've got to show up in your business. You've got to put yourself out there. You've got to, even when it's hard, but you have to also, if you're going to put that level of effort in, you really need to know who you are and what you're about. And just my one tip would be to sell one thing at a time to one person, because it's a lot at one price. Because the biggest thing that I see is people trying to sell all the things to all the people at once. And I think that can be really frustrating for both the entrepreneur and the audience, because nobody's quite sure of where that's kind of hanging the hat here. So I think that's the one thing I would say, is that clarity and focus are super, super important.